What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday, and we have a fun little Monday. We've got a 2-game NFLer. We've got the 1-game baseball. I did post my exposures for the baseball slate. I'm sure that all of us are playing some showdown and parts of this 2-game slate, but we'll start off with Sheets and say, how did Sunday go? And then I'll same question to Brandon after Sheets is done.
I did okay. I cashed in some of the bigger buy-in stuff. Didn't do so well in the MME, but overall, not bad. Still got 2 entries in that big Circa Survivor contest still rolling along. So that's
nice.
That's fun stuff.
Who did you have this week, by the way? I
had the Bears.
Oh, nice.
Over the Saints, and I had the and the Colts.
Oh.
No, not the Colts. The who the hell beat Tennessee? The Patriots.
Patriots, yeah. Yeah, no, it was a weird day. I lost a little on DraftKings and won a little on FanDuel. It was just one of those days. But I had a chance a little bit. I needed a touchdown, that last Bronco touchdown to go to Mims or Sutton. And because I finished 30th in the lottery over there, and I had those 2 guys in it. So I was kind of pulling for like the miracle Mims or Sutton touchdown at the end. And I don't even know where I would have finished, but I probably would have been top 5 or so. Brandon, how'd you do? And did you do anything? I should ask. I guess you did.
I had the second lineup in the London game stuff. Played the optimal lineup in the F1. Didn't play the main slate just because I did not do that this week. Other than that, it went pretty well. I didn't have.
Excuse me. I would like to shout.
Oh yeah, out. You also.
I would like to shout out myself actually. So I played like $8 billion worth of football and everything else, but. I tweeted out at the beginning of the day, I'm like, the most important thing to take down would be the Toreador F1 contest, which pays $1,200 for first. And I did, in fact, come in first in that. Split it with one person, and I shared with Cruz in the optimal in the Laurel as well. And I actually, been trying my hand at the F1 projections a little bit. And I just basically threw those into Saber Sim and let them roll. And yeah. And one thing, Brandon, I actually was in when I was in Vegas last weekend. They were already they were in full preparation for the Vegas F1.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they hate it. They
everybody I know hates it.
They hate it there. It's because you know what? There's so much traffic already as there is in Vegas, and now forget even the race part, just the setup and just the closing down of like all these streets to get it going. It's nobody likes it, but I'm sure that when it's there, it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I hear all the unions like really hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you want to start?
I guess let's start with maybe the Tampa Bay Detroit showdown.
Okay.
The first one.
Well, because so let's talk about something else first. So very, very weird timing for people out here. So it's a 7 p.m. start, and for whatever reason, I guess they wanted to really make them island games, so they have like a 10 p.m. start out.
Because they're playing in the World Series?
I don't think they care about the ALCS.
They change those things all the time.
I don't think they care. Football is going to outrate that freaking thing a billion times over.
Oh, no, obviously. But any extra views you can get by trying to sideswipe in any which way.
I guess. But 10 p.m. East Coast time is rough business. I'll just say. Yeah. And from even from a lineup construction perspective, it's not bad enough that the first game's got a 4 million point total compared to the second one. The fact that people want to get all the exposure in the early game so that they don't have to worry. They don't sweat the later one as much. I think that first game is going to just get cramped. And so I'm not saying it's not deserved, but you're going to have some serious ownership in that first game. Now, fortunately, or unfortunately, however you look at it, we did get news that Igubuka is actually in, which I was not expecting. I was going to have to whine to you about how I have to play Sterling Shepard, and it turns out I might have to play him anyway. But
weirdly enough, I actually love Sterling Shepard as a tournament play. That's a whole separate story.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I guess we should start with probably the most entertaining game is the Tampa Detroit game. So I mean, just so you know what I'm playing. I'm playing DraftKings, I'm playing the 2-gamer and both showdowns, and FanDuel, I'm just playing the 2-gamer.
Mhm.
But I already put my lineups in for the show. Well, tentatively at least for the showdown and for the 2-gamer. So I could talk about my exposures there. But what do you think about the games, guys, in general? I mean, I guess you agree
Yeah,
with what I said, right? I mean,
yeah. I'll throw out real quick, just like a game take about the first game. I actually liked Tampa Bay to cover. I mean, one thing is they only play close games, so it feels good when you play them. But the problem is Detroit is 11-0 against the spread under Campbell when they coming off of a loss. That's a pretty strong number. Those are like Rams numbers right there. The best teams against the spread. Yeah, I'm having a hard time even with all of this stuff getting away from this first game personally. You do have a lot of different options, and maybe more, you could argue that Nico like Collins and Smith and Jigba have a more concentrated target share than anybody in the earlier games, except for maybe St. Brown. That's an angle you could take, is to try and overweight those guys. But from the Tampa Bay Detroit showdown perspective, I'm going to do it again. This feels, I mean, look, I say it a lot. I know it sounds like beating a whatever, just going over and over the same take all the time, but it really isn't the same take all the time. And this is a spot where I like Jameson Williams a ton. He's my highest owned captain. I just decided to sell out on it. I raised his projection by 3 points, and I put him as, I've got him 35% of my captains basically, and my high buy-in captain. Jameson Williams is my favorite. And I'll let Brandon go in a minute, but I manually lowered both Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery because my feelings about Tampa Bay. And one thing I realized from yesterday, after my bold take about the Eagles, which by the way, that very easily could have won the $1 million if you just had the right other pieces. I'm kind of irritated about one thing that I've been getting into, and that's I'll have strong takes. I'll even be right about my takes, and I'm not really profiting the way I should. So I'd like to really put my money where my mouth is, I guess is the best way to put it. And I mean, yesterday that Eagles was really brutal. I said, look, play Devontae Smith and AJ Brown with Jalen Hurts. I think that would have been like maybe 1 out of a million lineups had that. Like literally nobody had. Devontae Smith was 1%, AJ Brown was 6%, Hurts was 4%. So nobody had that combination. And I'm going to sell out tonight on the Jameson Williams. What do you coming across, Brandon, in your showdown for the Tampa Bay Detroit, or if you want to talk about the 2-game slate?
Yeah, for this one, which obviously I just don't know how the second game even comes close to the scoring that the first game is going to come down to. But from a showdown perspective, I usually play captains on the underdog team that is expected to be passing a lot. Especially with Baker Mayfield and his expected pass attempts. I actually like that Mbuka is in. So I guess for the main slate, it's probably more, or for the 2-gamer, it was probably more of a big deal because he kind of takes away all of the value, or at least from like him being in, hurts all the value. But from a showdown perspective, like I typically like playing people who come in as like a game time decision or injured, because usually their ownership is less than what they normally are. I mean, if he re-injures, like whatever, that just happens. But I like Mbuka and I like Evans as the captains that I'm more interested in, only because, and I like the Williams as well. If I was running probably 3 captains, he'd probably be the third one that I'd use. But this just has the plays, or at least my, what is it called, blueprint of how I play these showdowns is just a team that's expected to pass a lot, who are expected to be trailing or losing in this. It's Mbuka and Evans for me.
Yeah, I get that. And I didn't get to very many quarterbacks as captains for what it's worth. What do you got, Sheets, over there with the showdown?
So first thing I want to do is I want to challenge your process for a minute. Not challenge it. I want to just literally I want to ask you a couple of questions, because I did this exact same, I don't want to say interrogation, but questions with somebody else last week, and I think it's interesting. So you mentioned that you manually downgraded Gibbs, and who are you upgrading?
Jameson Williams.
Jameson Williams. Okay. So here's my question. So when you like a guy and you just want to get, you want to get him, you think that he's being underappreciated by the market or overappreciated by the market. There's like a couple of ways to do it, right? One is to just manually say, you know what, F this. I want minimum exposure to this guy, okay, or maximum, depending on which way you want to go. The other way you could do it is by manually upgrading the projection or downgrading it one way or the other. But my question is if you're going to do it by downgrading or upgrading the projection, the question is by how much? And the reason I ask is this. Let's say that you really want to play Jameson Williams, right? Mm-hmm. And let's say you upgrade him by 3 fantasy points, which is a lot, right? Yeah. Let's say you put 3 points, and then you run your stuff and you get 0 Jameson Williams anyway, okay? You probably would say, you know what, I'm just going to give myself 15, 20% of him anyway. You know what I mean? Like, you probably upgrade him anyway. So if you're going to do that, like, what you may as well just do the minimum exposure thing. You know what I mean? Like, instead of messing around with trying to figure out how many points you should give or take away projection wise, I actually think if you're going to put a take on, it's probably better to like say, okay, I don't want more than X percent of Gibbs, or I certainly want a certain amount of Jameson Williams, rather than messing with the numbers, where even if you mess with the numbers, you might end up having to boost the exposures anyway. Maybe it's better, at least, to not get too quantitative about the projection numbers, and just go ahead and just go old school and just set min exposure or max exposure requirements. That's my
I mean, both are viable. I did put a minimum of 20% at captain. I still end up with 37.
You did both. Okay, so you did
just on Jameson Williams. I didn't touch any min max on any other player.
Okay.
on the showdown.
So I mean, again, just to think about. So as far as my exposures in showdown, I have St. Brown as my top captain, and then I have Gibbs as my second best, followed by Rashad White. And then Igbuka at 10%, and then Jameson Williams at 10%. So I'm with you. I have very, very little of the quarterbacks in the captain. I mean, maybe 5% Jared Goff, maybe 5%. And I don't have any real super funny business in the captain. Like, I have there's 2 lineups with Kate Otten in the captain, probably just because of what he does in the rest of the lineup somehow. I have no idea. But aside from that, that's my main captain exposure in that game.
Yeah, and just to go back to what you were saying, I think it really depends on which type of slate. My problem I've run into with SaberSim on these builds is when I do the min max thing, I'll get like they'll play him instead of St. Brown and leave 5,000 on the table or 4,000 on the table and stuff like that. And that's a viable route, but that's not necessarily what the route that I want to go. I actually want to play both. I want to play the passing game for Detroit. And in terms of how much you change the projection, it depends on how much of the guy I want, how much over the field I want to be. And pretty much any time you're changing a football player's projection by a couple to 3 points, I started off at 1 point. Then I ran my things. I went to 2. And then I was like, no, I want to be well overweight. So I'll have double the field on Jameson Williams, or roughly that. And that's what led me to raising it by almost, I think it's 2.8 points that I raised it. I also think that, you're going to get a lot of chalk on Gibbs and Montgomery even in the showdown. And I'm going to play my don't play running backs against Tampa Bay too much. Obviously, you can't avoid it entirely tonight, but I will be underweight Gibbs and I will be underweight Montgomery. And that means I'm probably going to be overweight Woody Marks at low ownership. I'm probably going to be overweight Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet at low ownership. So that's sort of the route that I'm taking for the team.
You know who I'm playing like a ton of, like in the flex? I'm not really questioning it, but right now I'm playing 47% of Sean Tucker.
Ooh.
So I don't know what to tell you about that, but
yeah,
that's what I'm doing. And then the other guys I'm getting a ton of. I mean, these are not abnormal plays aside from Tucker, but I mean like 40% of Sam Laporta. Mm-hmm. And aside from those 2, I mean, no big hoodoos, but that's a pretty big hoodoo to play 40% of that dude. And then I'm also getting the full 20% of the Khalif Raymond
in the show. Yeah, and I've got a Khalif Raymond a bunch as well. just to make things work. So yeah, I'm with you. I like that. I think the Tucker thing makes total sense. So I have no problem. I would have no problem with that. In fact, on my showdown, I've got him 30%, a little less than you, but not nothing. How about you, Brandon, on the two gamer? How are you trying to get, I guess different or what kind of exposure are you getting to that Houston Seattle game?
I was gonna jump in really fast to that Tucker stuff because my lineups are done. I have 21% of Tucker, for what it's worth.
Right.
The two gamer, I'm running my final stuff right now, and I don't think it's going to change much compared to where it was because at least for whatever I was looking at earlier when I did my stuff on SaberSim, it had Mbuka with a projection, so I just ran with it. I didn't change anything.
Good. Okay.
So I built everything, or I kind of goofed around earlier today with him in. So I doubt stuff is going to change much. But what are you asking exactly? My exposure of
two gamer stuff.
Two gamer. How much exposure? Is there anybody you feel like you're overweight on in the second game, especially? Is there any way you're trying to do anything different with that?
So from a approach perspective, I actually like the upside of Sam Darnold just because he's not going to be owned, and I actually prefer Baker Mayfield over Jared Goff. Yet again, similar to my showdown, I typically want to play a team who's going to be throwing from behind. Those are pretty much my only two things. I think I'm right with the field with Goff. I don't think that's going to change much. I'm not really interested in Stroud at all. I like all the other quarterbacks and stacks for those teams a lot more than Houston. And I don't like even Houston with Chubb and Marks. Like I have like no exposure to Houston kind of on the slate right now, other than Nico Collins and a little bit of Higgins. Like I'm just not getting to Houston at all. Maybe the last thing I want to say, maybe because since we did lose a lot of the value or potential value from Tampa Bay, Hutchinson might be popping in as like the value play that I use to get people in, but I'll know that in a minute here.
I think that's extremely reasonable, personally, and I personally like. I mean, I guess everybody's going to have a lot of Cooper Kupp, but I've got just a ton of Cooper Kupp in that second game. Yeah, so I guess like I'm trying to look at it's hard because I'm jumping between my builds and it's doing that freezing thing again, so I'm not exactly.
I'll go over mine while you're pulling that up.
Yeah, please, thank you.
So one, I guess, sort of difference is I am pretty loaded on one particular Houston guy, and that's actually I'm getting like 50% of Dalton Schultz. That's the one skill player that I'm getting a bunch of. I am getting and also obviously Nico Collins, but I'm not getting like too too nuts. I'm getting only 20% CJ Stroud. I guess that's with the field, I suppose. I don't think that many people are going to play him. And then I'm getting 14% of like Jaden Higgins. So I'm pretty much alongside of what most people are doing here, except for the fact that I'm getting much more of the Detroit like receivers, I guess, and receivers, skill players in general than the Tampas. And that sort of is, I would say against, but I kind of wish I had more Tampa for all the reasons that that Brandon was enunciating. Just the idea of like having the team that's coming from behind in obviously it's in a good arena. You know what I mean? They're in the dome, and Mayfield obviously he doesn't give an F. He'll sling that thing around. And Igbuka back. I mean, like I currently like don't have. It's so funny. I really don't have too much Igbuka in the two gamer, but I have him in like my big buy-in in the showdown. It's like so I don't know why I'm not getting too much of the Igbuka, but his
projection is pretty low. I think that people are just sort of assuming that Mike Evans is so far ahead of him, and that just may not be the case.
That's not even almost the case. I mean, Igbuka's the man, isn't he? I mean, like
he's been incredible, but Mike Evans has been like the most consistent receiver in like the history of football.
On the other hand, Mike Evans himself has a freaking hamstring.
Exactly.
He's playing, but I mean,
yeah. The one thing about him though is when he plays, he tends to produce.
He sure does, doesn't he?
He doesn't like F around too much. By the way, I really like McLaughlin I know it sounds really weird from a showdown thing for the kickers for Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Just want to throw that out there. But yeah, I mean, yeah, like people are asking about Jalen Lane. I'm looking at all the other receivers. Let me just see where I ended up on this, so I don't speak out of turn. All right, let's go. Is that what it was? Was it Lane? No, who did they ask about? Sorry, I missed. Oh no, Noel. Sorry, I'm on different. I got too many football things in the brain. I've got a little bit of Noel. I've got like 3% of him. I don't have like much. It's thin for sure, but I think it's probably worth a gamble. I don't mind that idea.
What team is he on?
He's on Houston.
Noel. Yeah, dude. I have a non-trivial amount on FanDuel actually. I have a 11% Noel on FanDuel for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, that's reasonable. That's definitely not nothing. The one guy you like Schultz. I'm gonna go out with and say AJ Barner is my guy on the 2-gamer that I like from that second game. I really like. I bumped his projection up just a little bit, and getting to like 35% of Barner right now. I think this is. I think he and Arroyo both have a reasonable shot to score a TD, but I like Barner's a little bit better. And somebody said gross Cup. Like Cup is a pretty consistent receiver. He's averaging almost double digit scoring, and that's what he's projected for tonight in a not great matchup, but he is a good safety blanket. So I think he makes a lot of sense.
Well, let me ask you another. Here's a strategy that you can use on the 2-gamer that some people will do, but it won't be that popular. Is to play that Tampa Detroit game, but play like a ton of like the Detroit defense also. Right. You get in that situation that we talk about in a high totalish type game where Mayfield could have to be slinging the thing around. Detroit's pretty opportunistic. And you could get Tampa scoring fantasy points and Detroit defense scoring fantasy points out of that also. And on a 2-gamer, not that many. I mean, there'll be people that do it, but still people would rather not.
Right. I like that. That's a good point.
Because I think that Seattle's defense is going to be like 60% owned probably.
Yeah.
And then probably Houston will be like 20, and the rest will be like divvied up among the Lions and the Bucks. So I think that you can play the Lions, get over the field in their defense, and that could be worth it.
I think I'd make that case the other way too. One, I think the Bucks actually have a decent. I think both. Okay. And so Tampa Bay, they're saying it's going to be 11%. My bet is Tampa Bay ends up like 3%, 4%.
You know how hard that is, though, in like a 2-game slate?
It happened with Washington last year when
really?
My million. That was my thing. That was 4 games, I guess. But even on the 2-game slate that day, they were only 3% against Detroit because they see the giant total. That doesn't mean anything. You're hoping for one of the. How many defensive touchdowns were there yesterday? By the way, was there like 6 or something? There was like 6 defensive touchdowns.
Meanwhile, we're going to talk about this, but I mean, like, how much time did I talk about this? About how you just knew. I mean, I should have just bet this straight up, like whatever odds I could have got on a Cleveland pick 6, like exactly the way that I said it was going to happen too. Yeah. Just trying to slide one out into the flat. You know what I mean? Like just no chance. You know what I mean? Like that was just like, and obviously it's one thing after the fact, whatever. We knew that going in that was going to freaking happen. And I'm like, I know I'm only supposed to get 15, 20% of these defenses, but that thing's a freaking lock.
Well, how about for a minute, and then my Philly defensive take that they're going to get pressure on Wentz and he's going to throw a pick 6, and that happened too. Like it was just like one of those things. We were pretty good with. All right, I'm going to finish my exposures and want to post in our Discord for the subscribers.
Wait, before we do that,
I'm not getting out of there yet. I'm just giving you a heads up.
No, what I was going to say is before we go, I mean, Brandon, you want to give a couple of. I didn't build yet, but do you do anything with the Seattle showdown slate? Like, is there any hoodoos that you want to identify over there? I literally haven't done it yet.
I can't envision things to change. I'll probably just play JSM and Cooper Kupp as my captains. I do have a question related to just kind of what you guys feel. So like I'm rerunning my stuff, and this is for the 2-gamer. As I said earlier, I had like very little interest in the running backs from Houston. I have like 160 lines. I literally have like 5 with Woody Marks and 4 with Chubb. Like why, or maybe not why, but is like from a gut feel, like what do you guys think about that? Because if it's up to me, when it's that low, I never feel like those 4 lineups, if one of those guys go off, will make up for my portfolio. Usually, I just end up Xing those out. At this point, like
I would not see. Okay, so that is
what do you think about like that type of approach? Because I go back and forth on it.
Okay, so to me, that's very, very 2017. Like that's what people would advise. Like you run your stuff, and if you're getting 4% of a guy, you may as well just have 0, and X him out. I've just kind of learned to not do that, just because there's just too many times that guys I've had 4% of like end up in my winner,
Right.
that I just kind of leave it. But what I will say also is it is, even though that game has a lower total against the tougher defenses, whatever, it is just strange to have, like any running back on a 2-game slate that's like a starter be as low owned as all those guys are going to be.
Well, that's the thing is that Chubb is not like there isn't really a starter in Houston. Chubb is the starter, but Marks gets more of the run these days. And there's not really a starter in Seattle.
But if there's, I would say it's even money at least that some running back from that team scores a touchdown.
Oh yeah. But I think that's fair enough. Yeah, probably better than that.
And all of them are less than 10%, right?
Let me see real quick.
But do you think that comes into play on a slate where pricing is this tight?
Yeah, I don't know.
That usually like I don't really get stuck on something this specific, but like this is just kind of weird that the slate is that tight, and my stuff is just showing like I have none of those guys.
Yeah, I'm way overweight those guys myself. Not Chubb as much. I'm probably a little overweight Chubb, and I'm well overweight Woody Marks, and I'm well overweight Charbonnet, and I'm well overweight Walker because I'm underweight Gibbs, White, and Montgomery. But if I wouldn't just eliminate them, that would be my take. I agree with
I want to actually, before I go through the ones that I give a shit about tonight are the 4-4-4 entries because I'm playing 10 in that. And they're not in those lineups.
Yeah, I think it's worth it just to leave them in. Just you never know if you might hit nuts with it. It's still possible.
Gotcha.
Who was it? I think it was Cal when he won. The Roto Grinder. Shout out to Cal. But when he won the million, I think he played 150 lineups, and I think he said he had one. It was like San Francisco stack won it with like just the quarterback to tight end, and it was like the backups and all this stuff. And I think he had one stack or 2 stacks maybe. That was that.
Yeah, I just too many times.
1 million. Yeah, it happens.
It's just happened too many times.
Yeah,
that I just don't want to risk that.
Gotcha.
Not that I'll ever know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I gotcha.
But I also think that if you're hand building out there, I think that not putting a running back in your flex is probably a good way to just get a little different. I happen to like the receivers a lot on this slate, So I between Smith and Jigba, Collins, Jameson, St. Brown, obviously the Bucks guys, I just think it's a receiver. I like the receivers or double tight ends better than I like the 3 running backs builds personally.
Now, needless to say, if you have all day to late swap.
Yeah.
So the only thing is you're probably not going to have too many slots to late swap because you're going to probably play most of it from the early game anyway.
Right. Yeah, but you'll have enough.
You could swap off of like a chalky Seattle defense and play Houston if that matters to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's reasonable.
Or I bet you I'm just suggesting stuff is that I bet you that there are going to be some people that have like JSN, as their Seattle guy. And if that's, if you're going to need to do something else, you could swap off of him. I mean, just be aware of what could be out there.
Make sure to late swap. All right, guys. Well, anything else out there?
Why don't you talk about real quick? I know you pushed your exposure, but real quick for those that didn't read it, like any take on the baseball game?
Oh yeah. I X'd out both pitchers as captains.
Oh my God, the anti Adam Perry.
That's what I always say.
Well, one thing is tonight they literally might pitch like 2 innings. So
Okay, yeah, that's true.
but I mean, somebody brought it up, and one of our new members brought it up in the Discord. Like, would you play Brian Wu or all these other guys? I think you could take those shots. I just personally
They're too expensive though, aren't they?
But so what? They might pitch more than the actual starters.
Okay.
So that's my take. Also, I think Brian Wu is still the best pitcher in Seattle. So I don't know why he's not starting. I don't know why they didn't set it up for him, I guess I should say. But yeah, big night for Seattle sports, I guess. a lot going on.
Yep.
All right. Anything else, guys, before we jump out here? I'm just gonna do my hand builds and then pop in my exposures in our NFL channel.
I guess we're good. So a couple of announcements, by the way. We have tomorrow is the beginning of the NBA season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And we'll be there covering most of it. Bobby and I will talk about how we want to handle it in general. I mean, my first real slate's going to be Wednesday.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I mean, I'm certainly gonna play tomorrow. But we'll talk about how we want to.
Yeah, I think we'll cancel the morning looks. I think because especially with basketball, it's just gotten
it's just dumb. I think I don't know.
Yeah. Like I enjoy doing it with you, but I don't feel like there's much value by the end of the day.
Yeah. But maybe what we should do is at least tomorrow do like a preview of the season, maybe, and like what we think of the season, and maybe just talk about NBA DFS in general or something like that. Welcome everybody to the season and stuff. Because one of the things that's really hard, everybody, is to what is this? Is when we do the live before lock, which is obviously what everybody wants to see. Like we're also have to focus on playing. It's just hard. So we're gonna have to figure out a good way to strike that balance. And I'll do my live lineup builds or whatever. But everybody, listen, the NBA. Remember, everybody gets their news like 12 minutes to post time, and everybody's got to scramble. Maybe we will do some early stuff. I don't know. Just to give some stuff on how to use SaberSim and how to do this other stuff. We'll talk about it, I guess.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. I've got some meetings. I got an accountant meeting tomorrow morning.
Oh, okay.
But I'll be around tomorrow afternoon, and I'll definitely do commit to the live before lock part of it for now. And then we'll figure out if there's some other better ideas. And I'll talk a little bit. I did post a few things before about my see some of the things I like for the season, but we could do a preview for sure.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Good luck tonight. Hopefully somebody wins big from TrueDFS. If it's not me or one of you guys, hopefully one of our members will get there. And let's make some money, guys.